Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Motivation. I'm Serena Miranda, your host. And today we have a guest, Miranda Lee, who is the founder of Find That Pause. And I am so thankful to have you on my podcast today. And I'm excited to dig in and really understand what it is and really define that pause, because I'm the kind of person that needs to pause every now and then. So tell us about yourself, Miranda, and what you do.
Thanks so much for having me here today, Serena. I'm very grateful that you reached out and invited me to come, because I love speaking to other women business owners about how to find your pause. Because I have had to learn how to find mine. And once I found it, I realized, gosh, why didn't I find this before? It's so helpful for living a healthy, contented, less overwhelmed life. So I am.
That is true.
Yeah, I'm a meditation teacher. I'm also a mindset coach, and I also teach yoga. But I had a very busy previous career in advertising, where I worked at big New York ad agencies, running teams, international teams, and used my own personal practice of yoga and meditation to deal with the stress of that kind of life. But then I had kids, and that all kind of went out the window.
They tend to do that.
Yeah, I didn't have that time anymore in my life. And I started having to rebuild my own practice of finding pauses in very short incremental time periods that I could fit into work and parenting. And that became so important to me that I decided to start a business to teach these skills to others.
That is wonderful. And we spoke about that a little bit earlier, about how my journey with taking a pause started mindfully. It started after I turned 50. And I really wish I had done it sooner. So one of my missions is to teach that to my daughter. So she's 20. And I want to make sure that she has the tools to put herself and have a pause and have that time that she needs to, so she doesn't get overwhelmed, because life is busy and can be stressful. So it is something that I'm on a journey to learn more about. So I'm glad you're my guest today, because I have a lot to learn.
I think we all do. We live in a very busy world. I think, we live in a world where keeping busy, keeping productive is the route to success, right? We work hard and we do well. And I think that works really well until it doesn't. And what's been happening, and that was also my story, I had a very busy, successful career in advertising. And then I put my kids into that, and my husband and my household, and it just became overwhelming. And I just had this moment of just feeling completely like, I just don't know how to do this. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that resonates with you, but, there are moments like that. And it's like, well, what do you do, right? Because you can't really put down the kids or the house or the business, right? You got to keep going.
That's right.
But what I found is that if you can sort of, before you get to that level of complete overwhelm, it's better. But if you do, just taking a moment to take a breath.
Yes.
And to look at what's going on and to give yourself some compassion. This is a really challenging moment for me. Breathe through it. And there's a ton of different ways you can do that. It actually helps your physically, your nervous system to decompress. And you get more ability to be productive. Because what's happening is that we get so overwhelmed that we actually can't focus anymore. Our minds just get too full, right? Yes. So we need to take that mindful pause to kind of bring the level of activation down. And then we can actually do more. So it's counterproductive, but in actual fact, if you're talking about being more successful and more productive, learning to take pauses before you reach overwhelm there's so much research to show that is really the way forward.
Definitely. And I really think breathing is one of those things we take for granted, because even just the deep breathing and just that, I think Jess on Mic Drop had mentioned it in one of the videos I had seen her. She talked about box breathing.
Box breathing.
Yes. And I didn't even know. I used to call it yoga breathing, because my oldest always had a hard time falling asleep. He's one of those that his mind is racing 24/7. So out of the three, he was the only one that I really had to I had to walk him through the breathing, and I'd say, okay, Marco, yoga breaths. And we would breathe in, and I'd say, hold it for 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just know that it helped him. And before I knew it, he was sound asleep. The other two were, they would just be like, go to bed. One of them would just walk herself to bed. And that was nice. But Marco always had that, just breathing was just something that helped calm his mind and calm himself to go to sleep. And I do that now when I know I have a lot going on, and I think, okay, I'm just going to take a few minutes. And I didn't know it was called box breathing. I just would hold it, take a deep breath, hold it, exhale. And it also makes you yawn, which I think is interesting. And then you just feel your whole body just relax.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of reasons why you're yawning and why it relaxes you. Maybe I could get into that in a minute, but should we do a long breath for anyone listening? Maybe they can join us. So what we want to make sure is we're breathing into our belly. And the way that you can make sure that that's happening is, I'm just going to invite you to put a hand on your belly or 2 hands on your belly and see if you can just get that big exhale happening into the belly. So the belly's moving up and down. And then just take a breath in. Hold it. You don't want to get out of breath, so just hold it for whatever feels good, maybe a count of 3. And then take a nice long exhale. Through pursed lips can feel really good, like you're taking a sigh. So box breathing is breathing in for 4, holding it for 4, and then breathing out for 4, holding it for 4, breathing in for 4, holding it for 4, breathing out for 4. Do you feel any different just from 2 breaths like that?
Yes, I can feel it here, because all my stress is in the neck and the shoulders, and I just feel my whole body. I mean, if that's all you can do all day, take a moment and breathe, because it is a game changer for sure. I really enjoy that.
Oh, good. I'm so happy that you said that. Because what I'm trying to tell people is you don't need a lot of time, right? 2 breaths and you feel different, right? And it stops you kind of getting filled up to the brim with overwhelm. And the reason that that's happening is when we're breathing like that into the belly, it tells the nervous system, hey, you're not in any stress, you're not in any danger, you're in a safe place. And it means that you can start to relax, which is why it's a great practice to do before you mentioned with your son, before he goes to sleep, because it helps him go from sympathetic nervous system, the doing part of our brain, into parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest part of our nervous system. And what happens when we're decompressing like that is, we'll start to yawn, right? Because we're relaxed. Yes. You do not yawn when you're really like going for it with work, right? Mm-hmm. So yawning is a great sign to show that you're relaxing. You can get a little teary in the eyes. Again, it's perfectly normal. It's just the body relaxing. And you can feel it in the places where you hold stress. You mentioned it in your shoulders. Suddenly the shoulders descend down. And that is just a really good way of not getting overwhelmed. So as you go through the day, that is a great practice to have. And, you can do it anytime. I used to do it when I got my kids into the car seats when they were little. I'd walk around the car, just taking a couple of breaths. And that just helped me to kind of decompress a little before I started my day. Or you can do it when you're washing the dishes, or really any time. It doesn't need to be extra time in the day. Yeah.
Right. Oh, I'm going to try it when I'm washing the dishes, because that's not a fun place for me.
Yes, exactly. You don't want to be washing the dishes, so you might as well do something like breath work too. Yeah.
Yes. Might as well do some breath work so I don't get mad when someone walks by who should have washed the dishes in the first place. Before we dive back in, let me share something that's been helping so many of my listeners lately. If you're a small business owner, you've probably worn every hat possible: manager, marketer, HR person, and maybe your own legal advisor. I'm Serena Miranda, and I help entrepreneurs like you protect what you've built, whether it's a commercial auto, general liability, or access to a trusted law firm. I've got you covered. Let's make sure your business is protected so you can focus on growing it. Visit networthlife.com or message me on any social media at serenamiranda.networth. So what made you start this journey? What made you decide? Well, I know your work, but why specifically this?
So I started doing meditation and yoga as a teenager. So I've been doing this a long time.
Yes.
And it kind of helped me to kind of keep my stress levels. I think I mentioned as I went through college and my work life. And when I had my kids, there was a big turning point for me, because I realized that the kind of career I was on, the trajectory I was on, just wasn't fitting in with my desire to be a more hands-on mom. And so I ended up making the decision to leave that job and to be at home with my kids. And that just brought up a lot of stuff for me. It was a very difficult decision. And I think I was looking for tools during that period of time to help me to deal with the stress. And I turned back to these tools that I'd had in my past, but made them really small, short.
Right.
And other people started seeing me. They're like, "Oh, you look like you're quite a calm mom." And I was like, "I guess I'm learning to be." I really wasn't before. And they were like, "What are you doing?" So I started just sharing some of these things I was doing, and it started like that. Like other people were interested in finding tools to help them de-stress. And so I just started teaching literally other parents in my kids' preschool. And then it kind of grew. And I started to realize that kids, like teens and young adults in my community, were also really stressed out. So I started doing that work. And then it's kind of just grown through, and then I started doing it a bit more seriously during the pandemic, because that was just a really difficult, challenging time.
Yes,
and it's just kind of continued. And now I do resilience training in financial companies, and I work at my local hospital with both the healthcare providers and the patients.
Wow.
People going through really challenging times with health conditions. And I started specializing in doing one-on-one coaching with people like going through like big life changes and feeling like the rug is pulled underneath them, from underneath them. Well, what do you do with that? Well, actually, it's the same tools, right?
Yeah.
Because this is helping you to get grounded in your body. And when the body is grounded, so the mind gets grounded, and so the stress levels can come down. And you feel like you can deal with the situations you're in. So that's really how it was kind of organic. Yeah.
And do you like, I'm here in Texas, you're in outside of New York, right? So
Mhm.
how do you reach more people? Are you doing online courses?
Yes, yes. I actually have one launching on June the 12th. I have an 8-week course where I take people through like the mindset tools that I think are absolutely key and that have like really helped me and also the other students I've taught. And then, these are practices. So 8 weeks, you get a good foundation.
Right.
And then, I have a meditation library of all these short pauses to help them keep going with it afterwards. And that's where I've been growing. And I also have retreats where we go away for weekends together and we learn these tools together. Yeah. So between these two programs, we're getting a community of it's mostly women, but I do have some men who are learning these tools and sharing them with one another so that we can start changing our communities.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. I go back to my oldest because he, like I said, his energy was always like at a level 20 from little bitty to him as a young man now. And I noticed and I think maybe it's because of me, I don't know, but somehow he knew that his mind needed a different type of exposure and calmness. So he's very stoic. He likes to read. It's really funny though, because I'm like, I can't believe you're reading some of this stoicism, but it really helps him calm himself and be focused. And I'm so glad that he found those tools. But the breathing and the calmness and the meditating, he would even tell me, he goes, Mom, you need to take time. I don't even think he was 18 at the time. He was like, you need to take time and you need to meditate. You need to be calm, because I was always like, let's go. What are we doing? Because they were all athletes. And so the schedules were like crazy. And I was working and my husband had his business. And I was like, Marco, I don't have time to meditate. I'm like, you better meditate yourself to the car. I was like, we got to go. But he was to this day, he's my reminder. He's always like, take a breath, Mom. Let's breathe. And it's funny how it's come full circle, right? I used to help calm him as a child, as a little boy, and now he's calming me as his mom, his old mom now.
Oh, what a lovely story. Yeah, I like I said, I used to teach teens and I used to joke around with their parents saying, when your teen is telling you to take a breath, you know that this is working.
Exactly. Yeah. He definitely tells me, Mom, bring it down a notch. So I have to be more mindful on that but it's hard work. And it's, you said majority of the people you work with are women, but I think we just do a lot and we carry a lot. So I think a lot of women, whatever age, benefit from learning to find that pause for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things that really helped me to understand why I was getting so overwhelmed as a mom, a working mom, is this concept of emotional labor or mental labor, the mental load of running a household and having kids on top of the mental load of work. Usually it's gender divided to come more towards the woman if you're in a heterosexual relationship. And it's like, so it's that stuff like remembering the kids to go to the doctor. It's, it's like, whose athletic clothes do you need to make sure are washed first? Because you know what I mean? All of that stuff, it takes up a lot of mental bandwidth and it becomes overwhelming if we don't find a way of bringing that level of thinking down a bit. And so that's why these very short little intentional moments to reset are so important, I think.
Yeah. So let's see. I have a question for you. What kind of legacy are you hoping to build through your work?
Oh, that's such a good question. I really want to build the legacy that you can be successful and take a pause. And I know that sounds pretty simple, but so much of our input coming at us is to go, 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 do, do, do. And I'm not saying that that's not okay. It's just that go, 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 do, do, do without stopping is burning us out. Right. So the legacy I'd like to leave is go, 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 breathe, do, breathe. And that's how we can move forward in a successful way.
That is so true.
Yeah. And I think it hopefully will bring the levels of anxiety down in our communities. Because and I see this, as I teach one member of a family to bring the level of reactivity down, the whole family benefits. So
I totally agree. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. So if you've got a kid in the family who's kind of finding things too much, anxious, by you practicing calming yourself down, you will help them.
Yeah. And I noticed that in my family, sometimes the way we react to certain things that happen in our family, and there's just a lot, whether it's at work or in your home, really the pausing and the taking a breath before you respond was a huge thing for me. And my husband comes from a family with not a lot of filters. And we decided to raise our children a certain way, or I took the lead, and he was like, you tell me. And he would look at me, he'd be like, do I respond to this? Or I'm like, don't say anything. We're going to take a moment. We're going to take a moment. And he'd be wanting so bad to respond. And I'd be like, no, we'll talk about it later. Everyone's going to take a breath. You go take a breath. We're going to decide how we're going to go about this. But even at work, I remember I was a teacher. That was my original profession straight out of college. And we had to do that a lot, because whether you're in a teacher conference with a parent who's not happy, or you're with a child who's being emotional because they've had a situation, pausing and just taking a moment before you respond, maybe even a deep breath, is so important. And I think learning that, because sometimes because of social media, we're so used to just giving our opinion and giving our input on things, when maybe we should take a moment prior to doing that.
Yes, completely agree. 100%. This idea of when we get overwhelmed, have you heard of this concept of fight, flight, freeze?
Yes.
When you just kind of lose it, that's not a rational place. That's right. Really when, in terms of the neuroscience, that's when your rational part of your brain has gone offline. And you are not going to be able to, react in a way that potentially you'd be happy with. That's when we start the screaming and the yelling. And we have to forgive ourselves if that happens. It's just too much and we get too overwhelmed. But when we pause, that's when we actually don't go into that state, unless it's a real emergency. When we pause, we can bring those stress levels down, and we can react in a way, or we can respond in a way that we will be much happier with.
Right.
So I think just for that, I think I work with educators too, and parents, right? Because your kids do trigger you, right? I mean, that's just the nature of parenting, and just being able to kind of, like you were giving that lovely example with your husband, I'm just going to take a moment here, Yes. But when you practice it during your day, you're much more able to do that because if you never practice it, something's going to come up, you're going to get triggered, and you'll just like automatically go into
Exactly. And then with the three kids, because they're so close in age, so they're 19, 20, and 21. And it's I have two boys and a daughter in the middle. And I'm proud that they have seen the pause and seen the call. Okay, before we react, this is what we're going to do. And my youngest, sometimes we call him the little old man because he's just an old soul. And he sat me down one day and he said, Mom, I just want you to know that I think I'm the only adult in this home right now. And I looked at him and I said, well, you know what? I think so too, because I am done being an adult. I'm so tired. I was like, I've had three of y'all back to back. I've had it up to here. But he was seeing me pause before reacting to his siblings who were in the peak of teenage years. And I said, you know, we can address these issues or address the drama later. We need to just think of the strategy and think of the solutions, because we're a solution-based family. We're not going to just go at it, full throttle. And I'm like, and that's kind of what being an adult is, Adan. And he would be like, oh, I want you to put the hammer down on them. And I'd be like, no, that's not how it works.
And that's a wonderful example of teaching your kids emotional intelligence, emotional regulation, which is really super important. It's one of the reasons why I'm asked to go into corporate environments, is to teach these softer skills, because they're so needed. If you think about it, if you're in a team and someone doesn't know how to regulate, they get really upset very quickly. It makes it difficult to work effectively as a team. Right. So being able to recognize your emotions as they're coming up and know how to calm yourself down in like stressful situations is incredibly important. And it's actually one of the signs of being a good leader, being able to manage well, because without those skills, it's very hard.
Yeah. One time I remember being at a teacher event, and the CEO of Boeing came to speak to us, to the district. And we were talking about the hiring from high school to a trade or straight into professional businesses, or these businesses that were hiring directly from high school. And one of the things that he said, and it stuck with me many, many years, he said, we hire for hard skills, but we fire for soft skills.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And immediately I was like Googling, what is a soft skill? Because I hadn't thought of it in that manner. But that really stuck with me. It's like we're in education. We want our students to be successful but are we spending enough time on those soft skills and really getting them to understand the dynamics of team, of a community in any form, right? Because as the CEO said, that's why they fire people, is because you don't have soft skills.
And I would say now people are more and more hiring for soft skills, because the harder skills are being taken up, with AI or machine learning, and of course technology as well. So what people are really looking for are, employees that can handle their emotions, can lead with calm, and can be resilient as well. That's something else. Because
that is true.
Yeah. So I'd say it's even increasingly important as time goes on. Yeah.
That's really neat. So tell me, what is the near future? What's going on in the next 1, 2, 5 years for you?
Yeah. So I was actually just speaking to someone about that. I really want to carry on creating this community of like-minded people who are trying to be more mindful, take more pauses in their life, practicing it, developing my retreats. I want to start doing international retreats as well, and growing the amount of people who are practicing the pause. because I see it as changing my community, the people that I teach, really for the better. People are able to sit with uncertainty better. They're able to deal with, the health conditions that are coming up for people. It's remarkable. It really is. So to grow and to teach more people is really where I'm going. And I'd like to make this, a bigger movement.
Yes. Well, put me on your list for the international trip. I want to go.
Yes, definitely. I know. That would be very cool.
Yes. My son is, definitely. I want to know. My son right now is in Singapore, and he is studying Mandarin, and he sends me these videos and these pictures of these beautiful waterfalls and in these I'm like, I need to get out of South Texas, where this is not where I need to be. I tell him, I need to be where you're at. Let's switch spots. You come here and I'll go there.
Sounds like you need to go visit him.
I think so. But yes, I'm super excited to see where you're going to go with this. And I would love to be included in any of your next pauses. And I am so excited to share this with my community here in South Texas and whoever is listening to this, because I really agree with you. I think that to be healthier, we have to be mindful of everything, and coming and looking within as well.
100%.
So I'm excited. Thank you so much for being here, being a guest, and for taking time to just let us breathe. And that one session, it just really made me feel good. And I'm excited to continue our journey and our friendship and learn more. And we'll have to have another talk about the courses or the retreats, especially as they come closer.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that so much, Serena. Lovely to speak to you tonight.
It was very nice speaking to you. So we'll see you around.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.